What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Dysfunctionally Functional. I am your host, Teresa DeLeon, and the author of Dysfunctionally Functional, my first of four books. And today is going to be a short one, guys, because I am squeezing y'all in. I did miss yesterday. I had a lot going on. I do apologize, but I am going to be coming to y'all 1 hour a day, every day, sometimes depending on what I'm going through that day. It just depends. So last episode was like 2 hours, but there was a lot to get through. And what we talk about in Dysfunctionally Functional is my life. I was brought over to iHeart for my life story. That's what my books are about. They're a memoir of stories of things that happened to me whenever I was young and how it affected me in my adult life. So y'all go on a journey with me as I am healing so that y'all can pick something out of my life that you relate to and that has hurt you and you have figured it out later on in life, or maybe you are aware of it now and you're like, okay, how the fuck do I get over this? How do I forgive this person? How do I unsay these really hateful words I said that I really don't mean? And then question yourself. The things that we say when we're angry, we actually do really mean. That's when the truth comes out because there's no inhibitions. You're backed in a corner and you feel like you have to recoil, and then all of a sudden you just unleash. Unfortunately, we usually unleash on the innocent person, right? We road rage, or we go off on a bitch that steals your fucking parking at the mall on Christmas Eve at 10 o'clock at night. We've all been there. So, what I'm going through today is, well, I'm talking to y'all. Don't really have any severe feelings right now. The biggest thing is from the last episode. Obviously, that topic is still on my house's mind. And I am still highly unaffected by the words themselves. I'm more concerned about the actions and what's going on the other side. So, I want to talk about the difference between forgiveness and healing, because I personally, for one, do not believe in the definitional word of forgiveness. The word forgiveness means that you accept the act and you're going to pretend that it never happened again and y'all are going to move on. My scientific clinician part of my brain, because I do have medical certifications and have worked in medicine for many, many years. Since 2009, on and off, I got about 6 or 7 years under my belt in medicine. And I've always studied science. I had a lot of bad shit happen to me, which y'all already know, but I grew up and, I've told y'all I'm a horrible mom, I'm a horrible wife. Everybody feels that way. And men feel like they can't do anything right when it comes to women. And at the basis of it all comes down to one, communication. But why don't we communicate? Because that means that we have to not only, it's super easy to point out what the other person's done wrong. You can point fingers all day long. But what does that old saying say? Watch when you point your fingers, because how many are pointing back at you? Again, life is a circle. I teach this on TikTok all day long and YouTube. Life is a circle. So it doesn't matter how many fingers you point. If you don't ever get the fucking picture that you got the fingers pointing back at you. God was very, very intelligent when he made life this cylindrical atmosphere where it doesn't matter if we turn left when we're supposed to turn right, or vice versa, or maybe sometimes we're just supposed to go straight. It doesn't matter. If we veer off of the path that he has chosen for us, then he'll let us fuck up for a little bit, and then something will happen. And he'll be like, okay, she's going to get it this time. Talking about me, right? Because I'm talking about my life. So, take trucking, for example. How did I start working from home full time? I used truck driving as a way to try to, one, grieve the loss of my father. And then I also had to figure out who the fuck I was without my father because I honestly didn't know. I had no clue. It's like waking up and walking around, and the people you expect to see in their beds are totally different people. That is exactly how I felt. And then I had my two young kids at home with me, and my son, being the middle child, he's the one who found him. So now I have to, one, learn how to control my emotions, figure out what's going on. Oh yeah, by the way, call 911. I didn't call 911. Like, it took me minutes because he walked in the door to ask for a ride to school. And that's what happened that day. So I deal with the fact that the day before my dad passed away, for example, he asked me to read his cards because I'm a very spiritual being. He asked me to read his tarot cards, which is something he gave me shit about being spiritual my entire life. Like, always. He never made me feel bad about it, though. It was more like he was picking on me, like he knew. Because I get spirituality on both sides of my family, but specifically the Native American and Spanish side of my family, or Mexican side, which was my father's family. So for him to just randomly, and he was doing stuff so out of the ordinary that day that I was questioning his actions, but I didn't think anything of it. This is a guy who's died multiple times, who's tried to take his life even more times, and we came up with this saying, Tauruses don't die. But before he went to take a nap that day, he asked me to read his cards, and he even knocked. 3 times he knocked, like in the Bible, and 3 times I denied him. I told him to stop being crazy and go take a nap. Something was off. Maybe he got heat exhaustion. I was just like, yo, I'm really trying to do something here, and you're fucking up my flow. I need you to go lay down and go do something. He said, I am going to go take a nap. We are not an affectionate family, so there was no hugging, touching. I did not kiss him or walk him down the hall. I did make sure that he got in bed. I went, opened the door. He usually closes his door, but this time it was open, which was strange. But the dog was in there, so whatever. Long story short, that was the last time I ever saw my dad, until I saw his expired body on the floor the next morning. So I'm working through that still to this day. But I found truck driving as a way to, one, get away. I needed space. I needed to be alone because I didn't want to react. Because if I would have reacted, it would have been catastrophic to everyone around me. Anyone, complete strangers, my children, my husband, and I already attacked them anyway without going through grief. So as I was going through this grief, so your windshield in your car, if you're a driver or truck drivers, we know it as a big fucking mirror. That's all it is. And especially at night when you're all alone on the road and you're just driving, all there is darkness. So all you see is the reflection of yourself, literally. So it was quite perfect for me. It's actually my life's biggest passion. I love it. And I can't do it anymore. The universe kept saying, hey, they kept putting me in the hospital, making certain situations happen to where I kept having to come home. I wasn't listening. I am a stubborn person. Not just because I'm an Aries, but because I'm a Taurus. That's how I was raised. I'm always on the defensive. I was raised to be observant, defensive, and offensive. We have to be adaptable. So all of these things are going through my mind on my first trip. and I cried my eyes out. I pulled over a lot. I fucked up a lot. I did a lot of like stupid shit that day. Luckily, nobody saw me and it didn't cause any damage. It was just immediately looking in the mirror, my body started unwinding. My brain, my heart, my soul. So I found myself. And ultimately, when you're going through this cycle of finding yourself, and in order to heal, you have to deal, right? That's the topic for the week. In order to heal, we have to deal. Now, there's a lot of people that say, why can't you just move on and leave the past in the past? Well, because if you leave the past, it's not in the past, it's in your soul. I'm going to say that again. What happened 5 minutes ago at 11:22 a.m. Central Standard Time during this podcast, I can't go back and undo it, and you can't go back and unlisten it. You can't unhear it. So where does the past go? Where do you think it's going? I don't know if you have ever seen that Jack Black movie Envy, where he creates this spray that makes animal feces outside disappear, and it's eco-friendly and all this stuff, and everybody's like, where does the poo go? That was the whole theme of the movie. Where does it go? So now I'm asking, excuse me, I talk for a living, so my voice is always shot. So I'm asking y'all, you're asking me to leave everything in the past and just move forward and everything is going to be okay. I'm living proof that fucking hypothesis or theory, whatever you want to call it, is absolutely false. Negatives across the board. 0 on a scale of 0 to 10. Does not work because, again, I'm going to ask yourself, what is your past first? You have to be able to identify what it is. Then secondly, where does it go? Where did you find it? Sorry, I'm drinking water so that y'all can hear me better, or I sound less raspy. So, think about one negative thing that you think about from time to time. So we all have triggers, right? Certain smells will take us back to a time in our life. Certain people, certain sounds. For me particularly, this is my show. Any kind of situation where there's a bunch of men and there's alcohol or drugs involved, and they just start yelling, and you can feel that tension rising and rising and rising and rising. As a child, we didn't have fire escapes, and my brother and I had escape room escapes. So even now, as I was truck driving, whenever I was parked, even though nobody knows if I'm a girl or a boy behind the wheel, because as soon as I shut down, I immediately closed my curtains. But anytime I would sit in my bed and literally shake and tremble and cry. I pulled out my taser, I pulled out my gun, I pulled out my knives, I pulled out everything. No, I didn't actually carry a gun on my truck, but I wish I did. It takes me back to the stuff that I saw and witnessed and heard as a child. That animosity building up, that anxiety I used to get when my dad's voice would get raised. We literally would run and hide like a tornado was coming. Our beds were our tornado shelters. Everyone has those kind of triggers. So again, when you smell that scent or you hear that gunshot or you feel that tension rising and you're like, oh my God, this reminds me of, you feel that scared, anxious feeling. Anxiety is fear. Anxiety is fear of the unknown. Okay? Just let's get that out of the way. I suffer from it severely. Even my son is like, oh my God, I cannot imagine he said, I can't understand how you function with the amount of weed that you smoke. It's because I need it, especially working in a spiritual world full time. I work on my book and my podcast, of course. Now I have a radio show, but the rest of the time, I am telling people their futures. I am doing mediumships. So, what does this all mean? How do we control our anxiety without medication? Bending over and doing yoga doesn't work. Hot yoga doesn't work. Goat yoga doesn't work. You don't know how to meditate. The reason people don't know how to meditate is, one, they won't sit down and shut the fuck up, turn their brain off. People that have high anxiety cannot meditate because of the fear of the unknown. It took me a gazillion years. I just started learning how to actively meditate, like go into that trance so fast about 5 years ago, and I'm in my 40s. And I now spiritually I can meditate and go find your loved ones and give you messages from them. I've been able to do that since I was born. But to actively meditate and go to my inner self and like imagine things and lights and negatives and positives, I was not able to be a child. So, that was robbed from me. My imagination and my innocence was robbed from me. That's what I'm getting to. Forgiveness versus healing. The situation that's going on right now with my daughter and the way that we all here in the house are very concerned. We're all dealing with it in our own ways. My youngest is like my daughter. My oldest, she usually chooses to just move on with her day, and she has a very busy schedule. So again, she's one of those, just let it be, blah, 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 just keep it moving. Every day's a different day, on to the next. But what's going to wind up happening is later on in life, she's already a reactive person. We have to sit her down, and I told y'all 2 days ago, we literally have to stop her when she's talking. We have to, so that we can point out that behavior so she can start to recognize it. With my oldest, they're very close. My oldest and youngest. Those are my girls. Those are my babies. But, unfortunately, because I'm psychic, I know that the older one is influencing the younger one. So what's going to happen to both of them is what the younger one is going to wind up being in a mental space where the older one is, because the older one refused to communicate. The older one refused to make assumptions about situations and people in her life based on what she could gain from them. If she couldn't gain anything from them, then she didn't kick it with them. And we obviously already proved that she was fake, because my youngest even convinced me that the oldest was over everything and we were good and everything. And I really genuinely felt that we were in a good place. But I knew that there was something off about her because her eyes weren't even the real color. She looked different. And I immediately came home and told my husband, I said, I am so serious. I feel that our child needs some kind of therapy, like badly. So where does this come in? Forgiveness. Children don't point out what their parents do the way that we point out what y'all do when y'all are doing it. So what winds up happening is they're like, man, fuck that bitch. In their head, they're like, man, fuck this hoe. I can't stand this shit. I can't wait till I turn 18. I'm getting the fuck out of here, blah, 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 blah. They don't think about, hey, maybe I should find a better way to communicate that with my parents and get this off my chest so that I don't project this onto other people. That goes back to forgiveness. Say I could go back in time, unburn the ashes, and bring my dad back and read his cards for him. I don't know what they would have said. That's not the way being empathic and psychic works. We don't have all the answers. That's not how it works. We don't run around knowing things. If we did, I wouldn't be here. I'd be on an island somewhere kicking it with Johnny Depp. So, it doesn't work that way. But in order to heal, we got to deal. In order to deal, we're faced with a decision. Do you believe in forgiveness? That's your free will. I do not. I believe in healing. Healing takes dealing. Dealing takes, it starts with communication. And it starts with both parties acknowledging their negatives and their positives. You have to be able to face the good, the bad, the ugly, no matter what. That's why I say her words don't mean nothing to me. Nobody's words mean anything to me. Nobody's actions or words mean anything to me unless you're coming to physically harm me. Then I'm going to react, and it's not going to end well for you. But I feel that way about everybody, but everybody comes to me like a magnet because I have been for the last years literally going through my healing with the whole world via YouTube. I document my whole life. I tell y'all everything, the good, the bad, the ugly, the same thing I tell y'all to look for, the good, the bad, the ugly. Now, again, do you believe in forgiveness? That is up to you. I do not. Because if I could bring my dad back and read his cards and he was trying to tell me something, or I believe that something would have been revealed that would have been a key piece of information that I needed to know. And of course, he was trying to tell me goodbye in his own way. I believe that he knew exactly what he was doing and where he was going. I would ask my dad for forgiveness for a lot of stuff. But I wouldn't ask for the word forgiveness. I would say, hey, let's sit down and have a communication. I need to acknowledge this situation, and I want to talk it out. I want to break it down and understand where you were coming from, and then I would tell my part about how it affected me. Then that person would say whether they gave a fuck or they didn't. In his case, probably not. But I would be able to say then, okay, I accept that that is how you feel. And from here moving forward, I want you to know that I release that energy so that you can choose to deal with it or not. But I'm going to go kick it over here in the healing section. And now I know how you feel. I'm going to retreat this way. And I'm going to cut that cord so that I can move on. And tomorrow I'll take out another problem I have, and I might have to come see you again. That is healing. That is healing. You don't forget the act, so you can't forgive the act. But what we can do is take all of the negatives, go back to the negative that did whatever they did to you, and then y'all create positives. Everything in the world, I don't care what subject it is, math, science, history, theology, anthropology, occultism even, whatever. It's all cylindrical. It all is going to keep coming around and around and around and around. You go up and down the tube, right? Because we're all trying to what? Ascend into ultimately a place where there's perfect love and perfect trust. We don't have to worry about forgiveness because there's no pain. There's no negativity up there. Children, you have to understand how to talk to your parents and vice versa. It is very, very hard for me right now because there's so much stuff around me. I mean, my kids are I have a family picture on each side of me, and I have one right here in front of me, right, literally right behind my Mac. I love the people that I love so deeply, but I've cut most of them out. The ones that are still alive that I had to cut out, I mean, I've already lost all my immediate family. I don't have grandparents. I don't have parents. I don't have this. I have siblings, but I only talk to one of them. That's not my choice. That's theirs. Everybody's got opinions and everybody's judgmental. I don't care about that stuff anymore. I used to. I would send texts. I would do that whole fishing thing on Facebook. I'd put like a quote out there, and of course, instantaneously the guilty party would come like, I know you're not talking shit about me, girl. You better take that shit down, blah, 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 blah. And guess what? Everybody on Facebook is now reading their shit. Just like when Amber Heard's, hey, Johnny, what you gonna do? Go out there and tell the world the big bad Johnny is a victim of domestic violence? Well, yes, I am. And you know what he did on that stand? What did they have to do? They had to relive all their private, intimate moments. And it was scary and it was dirty and there was a lot on both sides. But it was super clear who the antagonist was. Now, I have always been open about me always being the attacker. I'm always the antagonist of the situation when it comes to anything. I'm that bitch. I am that bitch. I'm Karen. Actually, my daughter's boyfriend calls me Karen. I got the Starbucks card still to prove it. I told you I was going to hold it, and I am. It's in a safe place. I'm going to keep it forever. It's going to burn with me when I'm gone. He actually put to Karen. I am that bitch. But I'm learning to be a nicer bitch. An informative one, an educated one, and one that doesn't react. I take myself out of the situation. I break it down one by one. I evaluate it. I feel what I need to feel. If there's something that I need to say, I get it off my chest right then and there. So that I don't carry it to the next day. And then when I'm working or my kid comes in and asks a very simple question, I'm not going off. And sometimes my youngest one, I'll just be sitting here and I'll have a look on my face. I guess she's just like, why is mom mad? I'm not mad. I'm dealing. And am I healed today from what happened yesterday? Or the day before yesterday? I don't even remember anymore. No, I'm not. And I am here to share my life with you. So just know that I'm in the depressive state of it, of the grief. Which means that acceptance is going to have to come next, and that takes time. So, parents, watch what you say to your kids. Parents, get on your child's level so that you can communicate with them. Children don't communicate to parents because they feel that parents are always going to have that authoritative, blah, 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 I know everything, you shut up, sit down. While I do feel that kids do need to shut up and sit down and listen, I think that there's better ways. I'm learning through talk therapy that there's better ways to communicate. And sometimes getting things off your chest in the moment, in the heat of passion, that's the legal term for it, those are things that you can't undo. And now everybody knows your truth. That's what I have to deal with as a mother. And I have not spoke to my child, and I will not speak to my child. Why? Because she obviously needs space, and I obviously do too. So, There was a client I had yesterday. I had to tell her, I know that you are scared and you are worried for your child, but know that your child's going to be okay. Pray for your child. Sometimes kids are just going to do what kids do. And there's not a fucking thing we can do about it. But we can reach out to the people that are around them, which I did. And my husband was like, "You did what?" I said, "That is how concerned I am. I'm never going to stop being a mom. I don't know how to turn that off. And even if there was a switch, I wouldn't want to turn it on. I would actually tell the electrician to unwire the ability to turn the circuit off." So that's where I'm at today. So parents, when you are in this situation where you have to detach from your own child, they're going to do whatever they're going to do. But do your part to assess the situation, break it down. Obviously, you don't have to have a radio show to do that. You could sit at home and do it. But really put the work in. Really put the work in, because do I feel anxiety about the situation? Of course. Do I feel like crying 24/7? Of course. I cried for hours yesterday. And even last night when I went live on TikTok, everybody could see that they kept saying, "This bitch is on fire, this bitch is on a mission," because the spiritual side of me just wants to grab all of my kids and just shake them and be like, "Yo, wake the fuck up. What's wrong with you? You're self-destructing. What are you doing?" So when I click over to my spiritual side, it's just like I'm complete fire. That's my subconscious self, tired of being the whipping post for everybody all of my life. That's not playing a victim card. That is my life. I'm always the bad guy. That's my role in everybody's life here. But that's not actual facts. And if you don't live in my home, then you don't fucking know what I'm going through. You don't know my progress. Parents, get control of your kids. If you have older ones, God bless you. If you have teenagers, God bless you even more. I have both. 24, 17, and 14. We're fixing to be 18 and 15. We always have to remain in control. This show is about my life. As you can hear from the tone of my voice, I have never in my life, my dad used to call me Mouth of the South. He manifested this platform for me my entire life. But I had to find myself first for the universe to open up the avenues and opportunities that it is opening for me. If that is not proof of positive change and that I am putting in the work, that's not me looking for attention, that's not me playing a victim, that I come from a place of survivalship. That's the first book. Yes, there's a lot of anger and hate, and there's a lot of really bad things that happen to me and to a lot of people around me. That book is hard to read. And everybody's like, oh my God, we need to help her. I don't need your fucking help. I don't. Because no one can help anyone but themselves. No one can help anyone but themselves. The best advice I can tell you is to find a non-biased talk therapist and bounce your ideas and all of your feelings one at a time to them. And then you go through these stages. I prayed last night I would wake up and be full of energy. I have tons of energy. But this sound that y'all are hearing today, this is the sound of depression. On the verge of crying every second. and it sucks. But I have to keep pushing through, and eventually I'll wake up one morning and I'll be like, okay, all is well with my soul. Thank you for listening today. This is Dysfunctionally Functional. Again, I'm your host, Teresa DeLeon. You can download this podcast, obviously, if you're listening to me from anywhere, but iHeartRadio is giving out some special deals. So check it out. And until next time, let's keep waking up every day and pick one dysfunctional thing in your life. Not in your family's life, not in your kids' life, not in your parents' life, in your life. And figure out how to flip the script and make it functional. Until next time, Godspeed, people. Godspeed.